Just a while back, I was scrolling through my phone and I noticed that in every post, I always see this little girl. At first, I ignored the omens, of course, but then each and every passing day, the omens grew ever stronger. I saw her multiple times in my feed now, my YouTube shorts, my TikTok. My dreams have been tainted by this foreboding presence. And again it plagued my days until one day, I couldn't take it anymore. That is when I found out about her social security number, her address, and most importantly, her government name, Lain. And she's from this TV show called Serial Experiments Lain, one of, if not, the weirdest animes of all time.
And you don't seem to understand.
Lain is a psychological horror anime released in the 90s from director Ryutaro Nakamura. It follows Lain, a shy and awkward girl who stumbles upon The Wired, which is a stylized version of the internet we now know of. As Lain delves deeper into The Wired, she begins to unravel unsettling truths about reality, identity, and her own existence, blurring the lines between the digital and the physical world. Seeing how many people talk highly about it on the internet makes me just want to give it a try. You know, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? For watching the show, I really had no expectations going in, except for bragging about it to my friends. And also, I just wanted to watch a cool anime, so yeah, why not give it a try? But this grand expectation doesn't last long, because it's not until the second episode where all of that just turns out to be a Lain is probably the most confusing I've been since Evangelion, but I guess that's fine because everyone seems to be confused as well. It seems like Lain is more of an experience than it is a contained story, and the mysteries enveloping the world of Lain are abstract so that it is stimulating to piece together. You know, it's an obscure show that people like talking about rather than watching it because, to be honest, it's more fun to appreciate it than watching the show itself. Adding to this, the world of Lain is muted and oppressive. It's something the directors wanted for the show to deepen this whole fuckery. Opting for the analog aesthetic is perfect. It fully communicates the world of Lain in a surreal and abstract manner. Upon layers and layers of untangling its mystery, it brings us deeper and deeper to its mind-bending reality. Things are starting to look weird the more you watch the episodes. The more you watch the show, the more you think whether you had shrooms on your tea. Which I did. That's the first computer. Even the first episode is titled Weird, which sets the tone for the aesthetic and the vibe of the show. Everything is fucking weird and Lain. You know what's weird as well? Weird is an anagram for wired, subtly showing us how the Wired is just one big hot pot of ultimate fuck fisting. There are points in the show where I thought, hey, that would look cool in a painting. And now that I think of it, Lain is kind of like an art exhibition. Each and every episode is a different expo, guiding you to its final bombastic conclusion. Each frame and visual has a feeling that is quite individual to Lain itself. It's abstract, analog, yet this chaos, all of it brings forth its rugged beauty. I'd argue that the visuals of Lain tell more of the story than the plot itself. You know, the disjointed feel and the obtrusive colors deepens this show's confusing nature. The animation is also top-notch. It's super eerie and it's off-place, which suits the whole story of a computer AI gone rogue in the real world. And for most people, the visual aspect is definitely something that they have fallen in love with, including myself. Lain is probably one of the most beautiful shows I've watched in recent times. The weird, obtrusive mix of colors overlaid by the 90s CRT effects that mask all of its imperfections, it was just really something that I love looking at. It brings this sense of unease and confusion to the things the show will touch upon down the line. This is kinda weird because for most shows, letting the viewer be confused to death is the death of the show itself. But confusion is intentionally a theme of the show. Some details of the story of Lain are hard to figure out and some of them are not even told at all. It's a really hard watch, more so if you watch it for the plot, because Lain does not spoon feed you answers. It gives you a homework that's like 90% of your whole university grade, which is part of the reason why the show gained a cult following in the first place. It's because until now, the story of Lain is much to the rationalization of the viewer. There are still people, you know, who analyze this show and still come up with their own thoughts about what it really all means, digging into its nooks and crannies, looking for any smidge of frame that supports their argument that it was actually about the friends we made along the way. With how intentionally confusing the show is, it kind of makes you think that the experiments in Serial Experiments Lain is actually the act of us watching and analyzing it. Watching an obscure anime like Serial Experiments Lain is probably one of the coolest things you can ever do in your life. I know for a fact that 50% of people watching Lain think that it automatically makes them cool if they watch it. That's why I get so many girls. But this isn't the only reason why I stick to the very end. I can say that personally, the staple feeling of my watch experience is the utter feeling of pure unadulterated confusion. I don't even think that anything in life could make you as puzzled as this show. Not even my Vietnamese failed talking stage. I always find myself at the end of the episodes making a weird face and letting a big sigh, saying, what the fuck? But despite all of this, it is a show that makes you use your brain for once, and my brain gravitated towards its poignant themes and messages about identity, connection, and the nature of humans. Once I viewed Lain as an art piece rather than a fully comprehensible anime, it really helped me to push through it until the very end. By doing so, I actually enjoyed getting my balls dragged over its pavement full of abstract concepts and non-linear narratives, and I'm thankful because I got to watch one of the 2 most favorite episodes of anime in my life. These last 2 episodes are personally my favorite out of the bunch, mostly because it has little to do with the overall plot. I mean, it's one of the least confusing episodes you'll watch, and it's the moment where, however impossible, the show started to make some sense. But I like these 2 last episodes not because of that, but because it's where the show's philosophical ideas take center stage. Episode 12 starts with the same view of the bustling landscape we've grown familiar with, but instead of the droning sounds of traffic, we hear Lain talking about how she finally gets it now, how the whole world works. You could just feel a different vibe from the openings that is preparing us for something dramatic. And yes, episodes 12 and 13 takes a more personal and introspective approach to the show. In episode 13, it fully changes the opening into something entirely different. It's Lain peering through the static of the computer screen, monologuing about existence and how she believes that she only exists inside people aware of her existence. What isn't remembered never happened, and if you aren't remembered, then did you really ever exist? We die 2 times in life. One when our physical bodies are no longer able to keep their bodily functions, and the second one when all of our memories of us are forgotten. True death lies in the second one. That is what Masami Eri, the show's antagonist, is trying to fix. He wants people to evolve, to transcend their physical bodies and hop into the wired, where everything is perfectly fine and humans can just bask and bathe in the omnipresent and immortal state of being. It is truly humanity's next greatest evolution, and it is an interesting and feasible idea, an idea of which Lain leans towards during the show's final climax. Towards the end of the show, we revealed that Lain's true nature is an artificial intelligence. She says that we don't really need a body, and that the unpleasant feelings of having one are just neurotransmitters in your brain dictated to a certain milligram. You could just tweak these in a certain way to make you feel bliss or happiness for all eternity. That is where Alice comes in. There's a scene between those 2 that really hits the spot for me. It's kind of stupid to say, but this is one of the scenes that helped me to forget about the whole confusing ass storyline of Lain. As she stumbles upon Lain on her goon cave, she grasps her face, and Alice reassures that Lain is alive, that she too can feel the subtleties of her warmth and her heartbeat, and that to be human is not to evolve to a higher plane of existence. To be human is to be broken. Despite of our fragility and efficiency, we do really need a body. The next step of human evolution is not transcending the physical form, just like what Masami Eri said, but it's not to evolve at all. That is the beauty of being humans, and talking about this scene just does it injustice, so I want you guys to go right now, go the fuck away from this video, and watch the episode. Hell yeah. This scene feels like an intellectual debate of 2 different philosophies, and I love it just because of that. And after this, it didn't really felt like I needed to know everything about the show. It's nooks and crannies. I don't fucking need to. For me personally, I see the story as this. It's a story about an AI that sympathizes with the beauty of the human condition. An AI that realizes she wants to be alive, but as long as she lives, she will bring suffering and chaos to the people she loves. And so her final act of love was to erase herself from the memory of every single person. In the final scene of the show, we see her meet an adult Alice. Even though Alice did not recognize her, Lain felt content that she could just still hold onto her own memories of their beautiful friendship. That she not only understand how the world works, but how love works. Because if you truly love a flower, you will never pick it up. You will leave it.
You're right. We can see each other anytime.